So I think that as we know more and more about how much time people are spending in digital spaces and how the kinds of experiences that they're having there are profoundly impactful on their embodied lives, I think for us not to be addressing that in the therapy room is really missing some potentially huge, both clinically important material and opportunities to offer our clients healing and health in ways and around topics that they don't have the freedom or feel the space to talk about with anybody else. I think a few of those areas that I in particular want to be able to have people speak authentically and honestly about with me are areas around sexuality and violence. These are having profound impact on the way in which we think and the way in which our bodies function and the way in which relationships are formed. And I, as a psychologist, believe that relationships, both of the self with the self and then of the self with others, really lay the foundation of how we feel about our lives and how we live our lives. And so if I can help people have clarity and healing and intentionality around the way in which they engage specifically violent media, highly sexualized media, monetized media, which is a lot of the media that's out there, I'm also helping them have a much more satisfied embodied life and relational life, and I'm also helping their brains to function more healthily. The first thing that I find is, again, is just opening the door to letting them talk about it. No one is asking them about this stuff, and I find, and there's a deep internalized sense of shame for these individuals, especially if it's breaking through their imagination and their dream. And oftentimes when shame gets kind of engaged, then we have this sense of, I've got to keep that experience down and I can't bring that to the light with anybody. So the first step is just in asking about it and letting them tell their story. And that's always the first step with any kind of traumatic healing, is letting someone kind of release that story from the locked up closet and bringing that into the light with me and having me not shame them or not look down upon them, and in fact to say empathically, I can imagine that is excruciating and that has to be impacting the way in which you feel during the day. That right there can be a huge open door. Then moving into any kind of like cognitive behavioral kinds of interventions that will help with actually dealing with automatic thoughts. There are lots of embodied forms of therapy, tapping, EMDR, that you can engage to actually kind of engage the neuroplasticity and rewire. I love the work of Daniel Siegel and the mindfulness model around throwing spokes and kind of reorienting the thing we are kind of creating the spiral of our thinking around. So those are the kinds of techniques I use.